Hey, I'm Jeff, and I make music with my brother.
Hi, I'm Jonathan, and I also make music with my brother.
Together, we are Ekko and Sidetrack, and we make music that sounds like this.
And this.
And even this. This podcast is about music, creativity, and everything in between.
Welcome to A Band Apart with Ekko and Sidetrack.
Hey guys, our new remix of D.O.D. and Carla Monroe's tune, Still Sleepless, is out now on all platforms. It'd be really great if you could go and listen to it, share it with your friends, and hit us up and tell us what you think of it. We really had a lot of fun creating it, and you can check it out
Everywhere.
and you can even see how we made it on our recent Instagram post.
Yeah, go check it out. And send us photos and videos of you dancing to it. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's free for you, but helps us so much. We're going to be uploading much more video content here.
Yeah.
Podcasts, silly videos.
Maybe some walkthroughs of tunes.
tunes, tutorials. It's all in the pipeline, and we want to share it with you. Thanks, guys.
Jonathan,
Jeff, what a strange week.
what a strange week. What is going on?
I've got a couple of things to talk about today, I guess. But
Go.
let's talk about the main thing. The reason why we're both in masks and we're socially distancing away from each other, and it's a strange little configuration. Technically, I'm outside of the studio. I had breakfast with a friend this morning, and when we were at breakfast, she found out, just at the end of breakfast, she found out that she was a close contact of someone that has COVID. But she didn't have any symptoms, and she works in the medical industry, so she had been doing rat tests in the week anyway. And so she's like, oh, I'll just do one when I get home anyway. And we spent like an hour at breakfast, wore masks most of the time. And then came up to the studio, and then she sent me a message saying she was positive for COVID. So I'm not technically a close contact because I think you have to spend 2 hours with someone in a closed room without masks on.
Yeah.
But we're still taking the precaution. We're socially distancing now, recording the podcast with masks on, and I'll go home and isolate and do some rat tests, I guess.
And some podcast editing.
And some
music on
podcast
your
editing.
laptop.
Yeah. And I said to you before, it reminds me a bit like I've kind of already done all this shit in London. That feeling of like, I mean, we talked about it, I think, last time when you had your COVID scare, that thing of like, am I a close contact? I was with someone that had it.
Should I be isolating?
Should I be isolating?
Am I doing everything right?
Yeah. And like that stress and anxiety of like, okay, well, what this means for me ethically is like, I have to stay away from my dad, and I have to stay away from friends that have recently had kids, and like you go and isolate. But there's like pressure. It's just added pressure on top of already the fucking pressure that exists in the world. But that's what's going on. But we're fine. I don't have any symptoms. She didn't have any symptoms. Who fucking knows? We're doing the right thing. I wanted to talk about the other thing that had happened this week was MC Skibba D passed away.
Yeah, really sad.
MC Skibba D was one of the greatest, if not the greatest MC in drum and bass. I don't think we ever met him. No, if we did, it would have been like
In passing in a green room.
In passing in a
and not
green
meet
room.
him. We've just been near him.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever met him.
I don't think we've probably spoken to him, but he was an MC that for both of us, I remember seeing his name on posters when I first started going to D&B gigs in like 2006, late 2006, 2007, 2008. And he was an MC that if his name was on the poster, he had the same kind of pull as another great DJ. You know, I don't love MCs. I'm not super into MCs. I like them and I think they have a function, and some of them are really good, some of them aren't. But he was an MC that would be like a ticket seller. Like if it was Skibba D and Hype or Skibba D and Shy FX or something, he was fucking ridiculously good at what MCs do.
He was also a different kind of MC. Like the more modern MC is someone like Linguistics or
Like a master of ceremonies.
or even like Adapt or Ton Piper or something. But Skibbity had like bars, and in that rapid machine gun style
Yeah.
rhyming. He might have even, I don't know if he invented it, but like he was definitely one of the early pioneers of that super fast rhymes over drum and bass.
Yeah.
And talk about man with energy. He was just like bringing that kind of vibe to drum and bass shows and influenced a whole generation of other MCs. Like that became the way you occupied space on a drum and bass stage as an MC. Like I remember going to the earliest drum and bass shows I went to had like 2 MCs at times on stage, and they were all doing that fast rhymes
I think
and little shout outs and all that kind of stuff, because the music was a much simpler thing. Like it was like a bed for the MC, and it was all because it was a combination that made it fantastic. But everyone was doing their own version of Skibbity.
drum and bass used to be a lot more repetitive, and I guess less
Melodic
and songwriting. Like modern drum and bass is quite song. The arrangements are quite. I keep saying song. I was keep like almost like pop arrangements to some extent, and it used to be a lot more like techno, where it's just like progressive and just like loops, and it lended itself to MCs, and as you said, gave a bed to it.
Yeah, this fast thing that like they do 16 bars, then they go again. Also, its tunes were much longer, so like you can enjoy the drop of something, then someone would start talking. And
I think I can't remember if it's Skibbity and Friction or Skibbity and someone at Westfest 2007 is a mix that we might have on our fucking studio computer, or that we like listened. It was just like one of those mixes that you'd put on heaps of those Westfest sets, Global Gathering
sets. Yeah.
Um,
Skibbity was on one of the first like radio cut MP3s that ever got burnt to a CD in like Byron's car or something.
Yeah. Byron being one of Jeff's friends.
Yeah. So we're listening to this going to the club in like 18. So it's like Skibbity inside, like these you're just hearing these voices, and you're like, I didn't know songs, but I knew that I liked what was happening, and I just assumed that like I didn't even know the mechanics of how DJing worked or how MCs worked or anything. But this guy's really been a voice.
He's absolutely a voice of drum and bass.
Yeah. It's really sad to hear about his passing, and the whole drum and bass scene will be less for it.
Yeah. It's strange when someone passes away that you didn't really know but had a clear impact on your life. I mean, like, it's kind of this weird feeling. I mean, Skibbity didn't have as massive impact on our life as like maybe someone like Linguistics. And I actually want to message Max and see how he's going, because I think he obviously knew Skibbity much closer. But it's a weird feeling to be like, he's in the same realm as us. He drum and bass and music, and like he's friends with people we're friends with, and it's, I don't know, it's weird how it impacts you still, even though you don't really know the person.
It's like the energy drops, like Skibbity's energy, and I mean energy in the very woo-woo sense of like his life force, is no longer part of the drum and bass life force.
Yeah.
And if you think of drum and bass and
communities
have their life force, and now we just burn a little bit less bright, but that also opens up the door for the new thing to come along and the new exciting thing to come along. And you don't replace the Skibbity, but there are more things out there, things and and things.
There are
more people out there that are doing interesting things the same way he was doing interesting and dynamic and new things
Yeah.
back in the late 90s.
And since, for the last 20 years. Yeah. So that's been a bit of a downer in the drum and bass world this week. And then we've also got...
And if you don't know any of his music, just go you can look up a classic, Twist 'Em Out.
Fucking huge tune.
Yeah, Dillinger and Skibbity. That is like a pop tune in the drum and bass world. It's like a fucking anthem, and it's like...
That would have been an early Skibbity tune that at least I would have heard. I would have heard that on one of your mix CDs.
Yep.
The other thing that I wanted to talk about...
Go on.
Because I want to cover some bad news stuff so we can move on to some fun. I saw, obviously there's a war going on. Russia is invading Ukraine. And I saw that, I think I saw a few people boycotting Russian products. For instance, I think Australia is banning the sale of Russian vodka. Or maybe the UK is. Also, the owner of Chelsea, Ibrahimovic, has chosen to sell Chelsea because of his connection, I guess, to Putin. And then I've seen there's a drum and bass artist a couple of labels have said they don't want to work with him because he's Russian. And I've seen other people give like anti-Russian suggestions of like boycotting certain products or certain things that are Russian.
It's pretty funny actually, because Russia doesn't produce much.
And I just thought that's such a fucking dumb reaction in my mind to war. Like obviously the people, maybe the Ibrahimovic move isn't so dumb because he probably would have ties with Putin and that makes sense. But some of like the smaller, like especially the drum and bass producer that's kind of being boycotted a little bit because he's Russian, that just seems like such a stupid move, as if like for punishing a Russian person just because you live in the country. It's not like that person is for the war or has anything to do with the government.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And it seems like such an adversarial thing to do and a weird move when instead you could make much more positive moves forward, such as like giving more voice to Ukrainian artists or donating money to Ukraine or something like that.
Or telling good news Russian stories.
Yeah.
Like it seems like, I hadn't heard of it until you mentioned it today, but it seems like it's the very what's the word? Quick reaction of people that want to cancel everyone. They're like, we can cancel this country.
Yeah.
Well, you're from the place. Let's cancel you.
Yeah.
If we boycott them, they'll learn their lesson for being from that place.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's the reaction that that people have at the moment. It's a stress reaction. It's like, I don't know what else to do. How about if we just yell at that guy?
Yeah.
Like the world is very much reacting in a stressful way to everything. We've been pounded for the last 2 and a bit years, or 2 years now, and it's
I swear, like we've got global PTSD and anxiety. So everything is we respond as a as a greater world community. Everything is we respond to things reactively, and we respond to them in a stress response, like you said. We're not.
People are giving people are angry on the roads. People are giving bad reviews of restaurants because they're just like, that's how they're going to get their controls. Like everything else is out of control. But guess what? I didn't like my fucking croissant, and I'm going to tell you all about it because you're going to pay for me feeling bad.
Yeah.
It's like people like want to quit their jobs. They're like, oh, I just don't feel good in it. It's like
everyone's just kind of feeling a bit shit.
Yeah, everyone's just in the shit a bit.
Yeah, it's so weird, man.
We're all just looking for that control to be able to exert some agency over what we do, which is why it's important to do things like exercise and fucking read even. It's like they're things you're choosing to do. You're interacting with a reality that is you're making up yourself. And with exercise, you're controlling your doing. You're not putting the agency up to someone else to do something for you, which we talked about earlier today. And it's very difficult when it seems like it's up to everything else to get better so you can feel better. But there is part of that. But sometimes you got to just get the small wins in, I suppose. Something Holly and I have talked about is
Hey, Holly.
Watching some movies that are less heavy. Like we tend to, enjoy a good dystopian story or a story that like hits hard. Recently, we watched Dope Sick, which I can highly recommend, but it's heavy. We watched Children of Men the other day, and it was a little bit too close to home.
You should watch Requiem for a Dream next.
Yeah, fuck off. I only need to see that movie once. But these things, they Mayor of Easttown, they hit hard, and you want that reaction.
Yeah.
But at the moment, the life is feeling quite hard. So we've actually made a list of 10 movies that are good escapism, and they can still have a message and some moments, but they're less. Real's not the word. They're less
dramatic.
Maybe
they're just a bit lighter.
And some of the movies are. I think we want to watch Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Again,
well,
old school Kevin Costner movies.
I really think that.
And that's looking for nostalgia, like we've talked about before.
Comfort in nostalgia.
Yeah.
I really think the popularity of superhero films and things like Marvel and DC, especially over the last 5 years, is definitely because people are wanting more plain escapism, like not so challenging, like just a good old-fashioned blockbuster that doesn't make you think too much, and there's got some funny bits and some...
And you know who's going to win.
Yeah.
When things go wrong, we get saved and we win.
Yeah.
It's not reality.
No.
And
I think that's what people want.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, that's some of the reality that we're living with, is that people, keep going, COVID's got to end soon. This is not fair.
Yeah, I know that's how I feel.
Yeah, this has got to let up. It's like, it don't got to do anything. It's not going to end. There's not going to be a fucking swell of hopeful music and some fucking scientist is going to come out, we've got the cure, and then cut to a fucking montage of people getting the cure, and then everyone's happy again.
That's what you want.
Exactly, that's what we all want, because we've been trained to see that thing. And I'm not trying not to be pessimistic, but I'm just saying, like, part of us do believe that our lives have to follow a narrative structure.
Mm.
I'm down, I will come back. And
the hero's journey.
Exactly.
Am I still in frame?
Yeah.
Fantastic. I mean, yeah, I just think that we have been so conditioned. You're right, we've been conditioned to think when bad things happen, a good thing's coming. Or something like that. But sometimes bad things just keep happening.
And I have to believe, I have to hope, but I heard recently that hope is not a strategy, which is, a tough thing to hear, but it's, you've got to hope that things are changing for the better. And
I think they are. I read a quote this morning that said, challenging moments are the best opportunities for spiritual growth, or something along those lines. It was a Neil Strauss quote, and I thought that's a nice thing to hear at the moment. I think something else that helps is putting yourself in someone else's shoes and saying, like, it could be worse.
Yeah, see, I'm going
to
push back a little bit on that, because yes, it could be worse.
Just let me explain before you push back.
Okay.
For a moment, so we were having a discussion earlier about some of the things that are stressing us out at the moment. One of them being show cancellations, which is frustrating, especially being in Perth. I think today we went into level 2 restrictions, so
Fuck knows where we are.
so it's like 100
music. It's stupid.
Yeah, whatever. But then I said, yeah, that fucking sucks. But hey, at least we're not producers that are in Russia or Ukraine. Like I think Teddy Killers, even the guys from Synergy, I believe they're in Russia. There's other Ukrainian producers. Like, at least we're not worried about not only COVID affecting gigs, but at least we don't have to think about a fucking war. And for a moment, it's really important when you do this exercise to not, that shouldn't negate your feelings ever. You should always go, it's totally fine that I'm feeling anxious because I've just had 2 shows cancel. It could be worse for me. And I'm just going to remember that. And that should just ease it slightly. But it should never negate how you're feeling. Because then you do get into the realm of, oh, well, none of my problems are real problems because there's people out there who don't have fresh, clean water. Or like, oh, their lives are so much worse than mine. And then it negates exactly how you're feeling. But your life is your own. And everyone's problems are theirs to live through. And you can never kind of compare someone else's issues with your own. But it is important to remind ourselves that it could be worse. But how are you going to push back?
The could be worse argument is great to do, and it's good to get a little bit of space, maybe, I could be, yes, our studio might have just been hit by a missile and we lost everything and we're on our way out of the country. We're safe. Our family is safe. I've got a cat on my back as I trudge out of my place, and I feel for those people. But the thing you're in is where you're at, and it's great to compare, to get a little bit of space, but there is a certain amount of, oh, it could be worse, that if you tell yourself, it's not even that it could be worse, if you tell yourself you've got to get better from here, there is a certain amount, if you go far enough, that you are technically gaslighting yourself. You are creating an alternate reality different from the one you're actually living. It's like an addict being like, yeah, I'll get clean tomorrow. Yeah, I'm definitely going to do that. I can envisage that as you fucking hit the pipe. It's like...
So isn't that just another version of hope? Well, what's the difference between what you're talking about? What's the difference between gaslighting yourself and hope then?
That's interesting.
Because without gaslighting yourself, does the addict, if an addict says, I'm going to get clean tomorrow, and just keeps doing that, that's hope. What's the other option? Just accept, I'm never going to get clean and I'm just going to be an addict?
Maybe there is a level of acceptance, and that's the real present thing to do. It's like, this is really hard. I'm going to do everything in the moment to make it better. But I'm also not going to dangle the carrot in front of myself too much, because that's also dangerous, because then you're living in the next thing and you're not, I don't know, it's hard. Maybe I'm just having a particularly cynical day, but the it could always be worse is like, yeah, it could always be worse. And it's a paradox, because it could always be worse. There's someone in, we won't even use the Ukraine version. There's someone in China, in North Korea, that literally could say it could always be worse.
Yeah.
Because it could. It goes all the way down the line.
Yeah.
There's always someone better than you, off than you.
Yeah,
There's always
for sure.
someone worse off than you.
For sure.
So...
But doing that thought experiment for a moment, if I imagine that I'm a farmer in North Korea, and I can go, that would be much, 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 much worse than what I'm currently dealing with. Okay. So it could be worse. So currently what I'm dealing with is bad, but it's not that bad. So it's what it does, at least for me, is just
positions you on the totem pole.
No, it just pulls me back from soaking in the anxiety or the stress or whatever it is, and it just goes, okay, you can get out of this. How do you now move? Rather than being stuck in that cement of self-pity and having no belief and just being like, there is nothing I can do and this fucking sucks. I think you have to have the carrot dangling in front of you to some degree to get out and to help yourself move. And it's not saying that you're going to go from sitting in cement to flying 30,000 feet above the air and all happy and everything rocks. But to move slightly out of the cement, you need something that you're going for.
Mm.
You need that goal. You need that motivation. You need something to strive for.
Yeah, I agree.
Like an addict will never get clean if there's not some sort of goal. What's going to make an addict quit heroin easier? If he's got a kid that he might be able to see once a week if he gets clean, or if he's got no family at all and no hope and no options and all he has is heroin.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Probably the former.
Yeah. I think you need hope. You need that this can fucking work. Otherwise you just get stuck.
Yeah.
And in situations where you're not physically stuck, you have to just move forward. I think talking about this stuff helps. At least helps me how I think about it, because it's like you get the thought out of your brain.
Yeah, it's a concept with journaling. Just like get it out of your head and you don't have to think about it. You literally like stored it somewhere else. I just am having it's been what feels like a tough month. Maybe more. I don't know. It seems unending and
hopeless?
Yeah, hopeless. That is with not much hope.
Well, you got an option. You can either find the hope and inch towards it, or you can sit in the mud.
Yeah, I absolutely. But like, I'm just saying I'm finding it difficult at the moment. It's like someone like, put a smile on your dial. I'm like, fucking eat a bag of dicks.
Yeah. And I mean,
shove your dicks in that smile that you've got on your dial.
It's hard because that's what turns Oscar the Grouch into Oscar the Grouch. Oscar the Grouch he wasn't always living in that bin.
Wasn't he?
I don't think so.
Where's the Oscar the Grouch origin story? Make that movie. I might watch it, you fuckheads.
You seem angry.
I'm just...
And shitty and annoyed, and that's fine. But what I'm saying is, do you think that makes your life better?
No, it doesn't.
Do you think it makes it worse?
I don't really care for your thought experiments at the moment.
Okay.
Like, I know it doesn't make it better. I know being grumpy doesn't help. But it's like, it's just, I'm frustrated. And you're allowed to be frustrated.
Absolutely.
That's all. I'm just frustrated.
Okay.
Back to Oscar the Grouch, though.
Well, I was just going to say, he turned into, like, you get slightly grouchy, and then you get grouchy at the fact that you're grouchy, and then you just become cyclically. Fuck, I cannot speak today. And then you just become the grouchy person. And then no one wants to hang out with you because you're always in a shit mood. And then you're in a shit mood because no one wants to hang out with you. And then you just get worse and worse and worse. And that's what makes angry, old, cynical, grouchy people that are fucking 70 years old and hate the world.
Okay. So where do you think I am on that scale?
Right now?
Yes.
You're being Oscar the Grouch.
Yes, but I'm right at the beginning. So I'm allowed to have a day where I feel like this.
But it's
Because if
not
we wind back the clock, you've also had days where you feel like this.
yeah. I'm not saying you
So-
can't have a day to feel like this, but what
all
I'm
I'm
saying
doing.
is you can have a day to feel like this.
Yeah.
But we've both felt like this for longer than periods than one day.
Yes.
So how do you get out of the grouchy feeling? How do you step towards the light, if you will?
I just continue to trudge. Movement forward is forward movement, I guess.
But what's the hope? That's what when people say, what's the thing to look forward to tomorrow? You know, we've got stuff to look forward to in the future.
But even that's uncertain, Jonathan. And this is the thing that's killing me. Is that everyone's dealing with uncertainty.
But it's uncertain.
But even the things that you lock in that used to give you some sense of certainty are themselves uncertain.
Yeah.
So it's like that's why people are, that's why people want to watch fucking Marvel movies, because they're certain. They know how it's going to end.
Yeah.
They're like, give me something that's not going to fucking twist.
There is a lot of uncertainty, and uncertainty definitely causes anxiety, cynicism, frustration. And it is difficult. I guess the way I see it is, if I don't have those hopeful things, if I don't focus on the things that I believe are good, I will fall into a pit of despair, and there will be no way out of it. I guess hope is I can't think of a good analogy, but having no hope kind of means like you've already lost and you're willing to accept that everything's fucked. Whereas hope is you're at least ready and taking a chance that if something will work. Because if it does work, it'll be fucking amazing. And it still might not work, but at least you were there and you were ready. And the chance is that it could work. But
I'm all for it.
It's really hard to have.
I'm all for that. I am hopeful. I do have hope. I am positive. I'm not just laying in a bed being like, this is terrible. I can't do anything. I'm not feeling powerless.
Mm.
But I'm just feeling particularly frustrated with how things are currently and where things are at, and I can't, can't see the forest for the trees.
Absolutely.
That's all.
And you can't as well, just like you can't make a decision when you really need to piss. When you're in that mood, it's really difficult to see, when someone comes up and says,
see the way out.
Just smile, buddy, it's okay. It's really, really difficult to not be like, fuck you to that person.
Yeah. And
even
it's also
though they might be right.
Difficult to see the way out. And all I'm saying is, like, I'm kind of accepting this is just where I'm at the moment, but I know that I just keep taking small steps. Like, the way to fucking, what's the analogy with the boy with his horse riding through the forest, and he kind of goes, I don't know the way home, and the horse, in this analogy, the horse can talk. The horse says, well, do you know how to take the first step or something? And he goes, yeah, because that's the path that's lit by the lantern they have. And he goes, all we just keep taking the step in the right direction. So you do it step by step, and you'll eventually make your way out. And I can light the floor in front of me, if I'm going to stretch this analogy any further. Mm-hmm. And I can take the steps, to be here doing music, to be doing other stuff, to be positive in some regards. But there is an overwhelming, underlying sense of
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's got it, and I'm not fucking special, and I don't care. That's just where I'm at.
And that's fair enough. You said you wanted to ask each other 3 questions.
Yeah, maybe we should add some levity to this podcast, so it's not, because people don't want to hear.
That's the other thing. It's people don't want to just hear things that are going to make them more depressed.
Yeah, because people want them. How do we make the Marvel movie of podcasts? 'Cause people don't want to just hear things that are going to make them more depressed. Yeah, because people want them. How do we make the Marvel movie of podcasts? 'Cause people don't want to just hear things that are going to make them more depressed. Yeah, because people want them. How do we make the Marvel movie of podcasts? 'Cause people don't want to just hear things that are going to make them more depressed. Yeah, because people want them. How do we make the Marvel movie of podcasts? 'Cause people don't want to just hear things that are going to make them more depressed. Yeah, because people want them. How do we make the Marvel movie of podcasts? 'Cause people don't want to just hear things that are going to make them more depressed. Yeah, because people want them. How do we make the Marvel movie of podcasts? 'Cause people don't want to just hear things that are going to make them more depressed. Yeah, because people want them. How do we make the Marvel movie of podcasts? 'Cause people don't want to just hear things that are going to make them more depressed. Yeah, because people want them. How do we make the Marvel movie of podcasts? 'Cause Guys, we've got another great competition lined up for you.
No, I think people just like real. Just people like hearing us talk, I guess. Authenticity. It's just us, man.
Yeah, what? You said something about 3 questions? Or I had the idea that I could ask you 3 questions and you could answer them, or
Yeah.
some
Do you
sort
have
of
any questions in mind?
rapid fire. What's the last book you read?
Last book I read was The Book Thief by Marcus
Zuzak.
Zuzak.
Did you like it?
You sounded like the guy from that that meat carving video. Did you like it? Did you see the game on Sunday?
Is the weather still hot out there? Do you like ice cream fucking ice cream sundaes? I'm gonna slice you a thinner cut because it's more tender.
I really liked it. I'm reading a book at the moment, The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle by Murakami. And I'm not getting into it. And I'm thinking about that Naval Ravikant number, which is 100 pages.
You can put a book. Basically, you don't have enough time to read every
age.
book, so you can put a book down and not finish it within 100. The rule is 100 pages. 100 pages minus your age.
Yeah.
And that's your break point. You go, I'm going to keep reading, or I'm going to stop.
Yeah. And I need to check what number I'm up to because I'm about to bail. And I need to speak to someone else. I think I'm going to ask Rob if he's read it.
But also, people love books and you don't have to love them. Another good thing is, Jono, give the book away. If you're like, oh, cool, it doesn't need to occupy space in your bookshelf. You don't need to
that's
think
a good
about
idea.
Because you just go, okay, cool, that one wasn't for me, but I know I'm going to get the next one. There's this weird obligation with books and movies, like, oh my gosh, I loved it. You're like, oh, I want to love it as well, but you're allowed to go, fuck your choice.
Yeah.
Guess what? I don't like. What's something you don't like? Tell me something you don't like. I don't like Marvel movies. No matter how much people go, oh, you've just got to get into them. They're fun, escape. I'm just like, they just don't do it for me.
Yeah.
I like origin stories, but I don't care about the fucking eternal, immortal fucking.
You like Wolverine.
Yeah, I'll watch the first Iron Man. I'll watch Wolverine. I'll watch things about these people. It's interesting to see how they got there and maybe one mission. But I don't need to see this constant fucking.
I think you'd love Captain America First Avenger. That's a good origin story.
Okay, maybe I will. Maybe I'll fucking get stoned and watch it sometime.
You'd love it.
What's something you don't like? What's an unpopular opinion you hold? I think Michael Keaton was the best Batman. No, I'm kidding.
Clearly, George Clooney was. I don't really know. I don't think The Departed is the best Martin Scorsese film.
I mean, that's it. Yeah, that's.
But that's too specific.
Very specific. You ask every person on the street.
I don't
love beer.
Whoa. I get that.
I don't crave beer. People are like, oh man, I need a beer.
Do you ever get that feeling at the end of a day, though, that you wouldn't just love
I do.
can of Stella?
Not Stella. Maybe a big... Yeah, I'm looking forward to going to the UK and drinking a big old icy can of Red Stripe.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't... there's people out there like, oh, I love beer. I've got to have beer. I want to try it. I just... I don't know.
I'm not interested in having heaps of, a beer tasting day, of having lots of big, hazy IPA boys or anything like that. But I do like it. But I just like drinking in general.
So do I.
I don't know, man. I'm going to have to think about this. I don't... I know they're there. I think there's some people that I don't find funny that other people find funny.
Go on, throw someone on the bus.
Some comedians in Perth. No.
Who's a better
TV shows? I don't think Breaking Bad was fucking as revolutionary as everyone says it was.
Okay.
I don't think
Do you think Joe Rogan's a better podcast host than he is a stand-up comedian?
Yeah. Though I did find his Triggered special to be very funny, but his next one wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, I think all stand-up comics have ups and downs and things like that, and especially if you know them from podcasts. I'm literally just asking you questions. I don't necessarily hold that belief. I will be telling Joe. We have a direct line to him. Hey, Joe.
I do think he's a good podcaster. Although he did talk over someone on there's a recent podcast with Freddie Gibbs and Brian Moses, and he's just high and talks over them and doesn't let them speak, which is a bit annoying. I don't know, man. Whenever I'm put on the spot with a question, I just cannot, for the life of me, answer it.
So try me. Ask me a question. I'll see if I get stumped the same way. Because I am normally the same way. I'm like terrible with lists. People are like, give me your top 3 date places, or like, give me your top 3 movies. I'm like, and it's like I've never mentioned a movie before in my life.
What's an unpopular opinion you might have? Pause for effect.
I think Japanese food is overrated.
Well, like something like Nobu, or just like sushi in general.
Just in general, I think it became cool to think it is cool and good. It's nice, but I don't think it's the
Epitome of cuisine.
No. I think I don't know what else I think.
It's really hard.
It's really hard.
I think we need to think, like, we need to write down some,
I think
because we've got some strong opinions about
I think
things.
rap music, modern rap music is overrated as well. I think there's
Like Lil Perp,
I don't know who they're
all those
called.
people.
There's some great stuff, but I also believe there's a lot of stuff that's just hype. And if the machine wasn't hyping them so hard, they wouldn't work as well.
Yeah.
I believe Dua Lipa may have stolen
Oh yeah.
maybe okay, let me rephrase. I don't think it was Dua Lipa herself. I think the writing team behind Levitate may have stolen the musical concept off that other band.
Can you explain this more? Because I saw this in the conversation thread we've got with Carl and Fett, but I didn't.
So an American
examples.
reggae band made a song in 2018, and they're now suing the record label and Dua Lipa's team for ripping it off. And you listen to it and you're like, oh yeah, it's like the same like jangly dun 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 dun, like that vibe.
Because it's like the same guitar,
same chord,
lick.
Same thing. Obviously, Dua has brought her amazing vocal stylings to it, and they've written an amazing vocal line over it, which makes it Levitating is a significantly better song.
Yeah.
But the original idea is that other people's songs. So I believe they may have a case.
It's so hard when she's probably dealing with multiple writers
There's a fucking song exploder about it. You can see the people writing the song. There's like 4 of them.
and multiple probably producers.
And all that person has to do is like, as they scroll through SoundCloud, they hear this and they're like, that's cool. I like the dun 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 dun. And even if you go, I'm going to change the key of it, it's a dun 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 dun. It's like, it doesn't really pop. I'm going to try this.
Yeah.
What's your range? And all of a sudden, you've written something that's quite derivative.
Yeah. Of that original song.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not. I don't think it's ever malicious, but I think sometimes there are moments where like, I don't think they'll notice.
Yeah, absolutely. I always think if Daft Punk ever paid for all their samples,
They all had to clear them. I believe so. It was on a major label. I believe they would have cleared them
I hope so.
because they were listed. Like,
Or like the writers are listed on Spotify.
no, it's like they were credited. Like, I'm pretty sure Discovery, which the whole concept of the album was that was a heavy sampled album.
Yeah.
But it was like making music with what inspired them. But I'm 90% sure that the samples are even listed inside the sleeve.
Okay.
And I mean, yeah, it's an interesting thing when you get into sampling or lifting or writers or whatever, because they might just go. These other people might just now get credited on Dua Lipa's tune, and they get paid part royalties.
Yeah. I think that's what I'd do.
Maybe
Especially someone like Dua Lipa that was racking up quite a bit of cash through publishing and royalties. Yeah.
What's another unpopular? I don't know.
Just making sure you're in focus.
I think late night shows in America are not funny and deserve to die. I also don't think Saturday Night Live is funny.
I don't think anyone thinks Saturday Night Live is funny.
Well, there you go. I think it makes some great actors. I believe Tina Fey is a genius. Will Ferrell, their alumni is a fantastic, but I think as a show, it can suck me off.
It's very hit and miss. I mean, I don't even watch it, but you see clips and you're like, eh.
Is that funny? Is that what's funny? I don't know. Ask me another question.
Even when you say, ask me another question, something I'd like to do is learn some jokes. So when someone says, hey, do you know a good joke? You can say it.
I'll tell you a joke.
Okay.
Maybe we can finish with it.
Sure. Let's end with a laugh.
So, there's a boy who grows up on a farm. He was born on that farm, and he lives there with his family from ages 0 all the way to he's 12 years old, and then something terrible happens. But let me give you a bit of a set. Let me set the scene for
I
you.
feel like I know where this joke's going.
Let me set the scene for you. This kid living on a farm is such a fan of all the machinery, such a like a little boy really. Like he loves the tractors, he loves the plowers, he loves all the tools, all the moving parts of everything. And he would go out every day with his father to help toil the land, and he'd help out with all the animals. And
Right on his lap while he's on the big machinery.
Exactly.
Yep.
He is crazy for it, and he's going to one day inherit the farm. And then when he's 16, his mum comes in and says, screaming at him to stop playing the video games, and there's been a horrible accident. And he goes, I should have been out there helping my dad. This is why, oh my gosh. And he runs out into the field, and his father is trapped beneath a tractor.
Yeah.
And they try and save him, but they can't. And his father's final words is, please take over the farm for me. And he doesn't know what to do. So he tries for the next 2 years to pull it together. And then his mum dies of a broken heart. And then he just goes, I can't anymore. So he sells off the farm and decides to move to the big smoke. He moves into the city. He's pretty flush with cash, but he's got to reconcile his whole feelings. This is a kid that used to have posters of farm machinery on his walls, John Deere merchandise. He'd go with his dad to expos and everything. He knew everything, and now he's becoming a big city kid. He's got to embrace this new life. So he puts on a fancy shirt and he goes to a bar, and he doesn't have much experience with these places. And when he's there, he meets lots of people, and they all just think he's a little bit of a hick.
Mm-hmm.
But he starts talking to one girl. She thinks he's quite charming in a country kind of way. And something that comes up in conversation is like, what did you used to do? And she used to be a nurse. And he goes, I used to work on a farm. And she goes, oh, that's amazing. My parents have a farm and everything. And he starts to tear up a little bit as this happens. And, he's only just met her and he doesn't want to overdo it. So he he steps away and he goes, I just need to go to the bathroom. On the way back from the bathroom, he notices that there's a small fire in the kitchen that's actually getting a lot larger and the chefs are running out. All of a sudden, smoke starts billowing through the whole bar. He sees the girl sitting at the bar, not knowing what to do. He runs over to her. He says, everything will be okay. And he stands on the bar, covered in smoke, and just starts breathing it in. And all this smoke from this fire is just coming in. And then it gives the people time to put out the fire. But this kid is just inhaling the smoke. And then she goes, oh my God, how did you do that? And he goes, it's easy. I'm an X-Tractor fan.
I remember you told me that joke in Europe. The first time we went to Europe. And you told it for longer than that. And we were in the car. I think we were driving in Norway somewhere. And it's one of the hardest I've ever laughed. Because it was so unexpected.
It's so stupid.
As soon as you started with, like, a boy on a farm, I fucking knew where it was going.
You've heard it before, but hopefully people that haven't, it's something new. And when I first heard it, the person that first told me was a guy called Mitch Farrell, who passed away about 10 years ago. And he was one of the funniest people I've ever met, one of the kindest people I've ever met. And I always think of him when I tell that joke, or even think about that joke. Because when he first told me, he would have gone for 15 minutes and he had amazing moments throughout. You're like, where is this going? And it just, when it hits that crescendo of absurdity, it just fucking killed me. Some people groan like, oh, what have we been doing? I was like, that is goddamn genius.
But it's because it's about the story and the misdirection and the fun.
Yeah. So you can make up your own version of it.
Yeah.
Well, I feel suitably lifted.
I'm glad. Let's take that energy into our day.
Let's do it. I love you, buddy.
I love you too, buddy.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for listening, everybody. See you next week.
Thanks for listening to this week's podcast. We are Ekko and Sidetrack on all social media. We've recently updated our YouTube. Go and give that a subscribe so you can keep up to date with all the latest video podcasts. And follow us on Spotify too so you can keep up to date with all our latest music releases. Big up.